This is me in the beginning of my creative process. I don't just sit down with a piece of paper or a canvas and materials and suddenly create something wonderful. Would be nice, but it doesn't work that way. The greater part of my creative process, and most artists' great creative process, is visualization, inspiration, a leaf hanging from a branch. I envision what I want. I decide. Well, on the piece I'm working on now, which is 4 birds on branches, and I wanted it to be something different, but I wasn't sure what. They're 4 different yard birds. And I decided that I wanted that. I'd seen a wallpaper with different birds on branches, and I said, okay, I like that. And I put it in the back of my head for a few months. And I said, yeah. So I pulled out some photos. I have reference photos that I bought of some different birds. And I drew a composition now. And then I left it alone. And then I drew in the tree branches and the leaves, and I left it alone. And then I started coloring it with water-soluble graphite pencils, because that's the plan. I'm doing a glaze. So I worked on that delicately and did the branches on the left side, did the first bird, then the second bird, and thought that first bird looks plastic. Not real. Now what can I do with that? I could go over and try to make it look fluffy and real. And I'm looking at it and looking at it. And before I've done the second bird, or finished the second bird, I put little turnkeys on their backs, as if they were wind-up birdies. And I like that. The other 2 birdies are going to be live, real birdies. Question is, can the fake birdies fool the live birdies? Well, that's up to you to decide. See, because I get an inspiration, but then while I'm working, I get other inspirations. And sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. I'm hoping this one will work. We'll see. I'm hoping this will be, I don't know, I guess you could call it surrealism, but it's not really surrealism. There are such things as wind-up birdies, and I'm not making them droop over a branch or anything. But I like to have humor in my work wherever I can. A little silliness, just a tiny twist. And that's really what I want to do. I want to put some humor in my work. But this is how I start my projects. I daydream. I think about all the photos I have. I like to do birds and dogs, occasionally cats. Don't do a lot of landscapes. But the birds and the dogs, yeah, and they're an entirely different world. So anyway, an idea will jump in my brain, as I said. And in this case, multiple birds on some branches, interacting, sort of, kind of. And I wanted a touch of humor. Well, I got my touch of humor. And also I'm getting back into getting my strength back in my hands so I can actually draw better. Um, if you don't know, I was in the hospital a few months ago, actually December, and I had COVID, which caused me to go into near kidney failure. Doctors brought me back from that, but I lost the strength and coordination of my hand. I mean, it wasn't so kaplooey that I couldn't write, but I couldn't write well, and I couldn't draw well. So I've been working and working and working, going through all the mediums, trying to find something that worked, and finally I can hold pencils well again. So I'm back to glazing with watercolors. As I babble on. But anyway, this is where the idea starts. You might have a dream. You might see something or someone walking down a road, a car, with a glint of sunlight on metal, a reflection in a window. It could be anything. And you work with that and you create a composition. Now, I create the composition in my head and I build on it and then I start working on it. A lot of people take the elements of what they want and create their composition on YouTube. I'm sorry, I forget. On Photoshop. I've stopped subscribing to Photoshop because I didn't use it enough. And I realized I can do that on my PowerPoint. You know, I can overlay and resize and anything I want to do, but that's not what I want to do either. I do it in my head. I draw it on the paper. I change it around, and you know, if it gets too complicated, another way to handle it is with tracing paper. I always have tracing paper. And I'll talk about that some other time. It was something I learned back in college several decades ago. So, but as I babble on, hey, interesting, Babylon. Babble on sounds like Babylon. Maybe I'll do a tower. You know, that would be so cool. Another idea for another time. So anyway, I'm still working on my piece right now. The watercolor pencil is drying and I want to be sure it's completely dry. And I do not like to blow it dry with a hair dryer. It's not that it affects the paper in any way that I can tell, but I like to let it rest so I can let my head rest. I don't want to rush it. I want to savor it, like the last chapter of a good book.